Good morning and welcome back to Granted Gardens. It's a holiday weekend, so we've got tons of stuff planned this weekend to do, but of course there's always a little bit of tending to the garden to do before all the fun. We had some pretty serious storms come through, one after the other, so tying up tomatoes is going to be an all-day chore at some point this weekend. Oh my gracious, he's ready. Well, this is definitely the biggest zucchini we've gotten so far this year. So this zucchini plant still seems very healthy. He's green. We don't have too much issues with discoloration. This one may be starting, but I don't know. Well, I guess we still got some more zooks coming here. This one we can pull. It's a blossom end rot issue, so there's no point in letting this get any bigger. It's gonna be junk. So we're kind of getting to the point with a lot of these plants on the deck that we're considering like they're getting towards the end of their life. That was always one thing that I struggled with the most, is like calling when it's time for a plant to come out and to plant a new one. And if you really get that timing down and take advantage of it, you can almost double your crop. You can grow twice as much in the same amount of time. So the concept here is, if you have a plant that is sickly or maybe not producing quite as much as it once was, to just tear it out and replace it with a new one. So for an example here, I've got this zucchini plant. So this zucchini plant here, you can see some of the leaves have started yellowing. This one was really bad too. I usually try to cut them off. Just didn't really get around to it much. We've got a couple of zucchinis coming in back here. But once I get those last two zucchinis, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pull this plant entirely and replace it with a new one. My beans are also in the same boat. They've been pretty well battered up with the storms. And I've been picking from these guys like non-stop. So they've pretty much about reached their the end of their life. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pull these out, and then I'm going to just direct seed new green beans. So I want to show you guys this squash plant right here, okay, in this bucket. I'm gonna go down and show you something in a minute when we get down under the deck, but pro tip, never use purple Sharpie to label your plant labels. The sun bleaches it and then you don't know what it says. I learned that purple Sharpie issue the hard way this year because I labeled a lot of my stuff with a purple Sharpie. It's all gone. But what I wanted to show you was right there, that's the pot. It's draping down and look. Ah! So exciting. I'm pretty sure that that is a butternut squash, fairly confident. These are more squash plants that are surprises. Can anyone like truly identify what this is yet and tell me? I'd appreciate it. Unlabeled squash plants. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a mold on here. I'm gonna have to address that. I'm gonna have to address that like ASAP, because that is one thing that we do have a problem with, is like mold and mildew on the plants. So one thing that I did this year, I don't know if this is like, I feel like this is probably common knowledge, but for some reason I've never done it. I never thought about it. I thought of it. Does anybody else like heavily prune the bottom leaves of their squash and cucumbers specifically? This year, I don't know, I just had this idea in my head to like heavily prune the bottom of my cucumbers because they're usually the ones that struggle the most. And hopefully that'll help save them from having issues with mold and mildew. So here's my cucumbers. They're so beautiful. They're doing awesome. But you can see like down at the base here, I took about a foot or so of the leaves off. There's probably a couple I can continue to take off because it looks like we're starting to get spots on those. But is this a thing? Does anyone else do this? Does it actually help? Why have I not known about this? Why have I not thought of this in the past? And once again, I'm down in the garden without my basket. Every time. And it's up there. I brought it out with me this morning. Just didn't make it down here, I guess. Look at how pretty this is. With the droplets of moisture around the edges. I had to do a quick Google because I always forget the name of that word. So that's called guttation. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, guttation. And essentially it's a way of a plant to relieve itself. Okay, so if it's got too much water buildup in the leaves, it will purge it through the edges of the leaves, those little droplets that you see around the edges. And that's its way of it relieving itself. So this is turning into a hodgepodge. But one thing that I wanted to mention to you guys, about 2 years ago, I planted a cucamelon plant on purpose in the garden. And ever since then, we have never purposefully planted another cucamelon plant because they come back every year. So here's the thing, it's not the original plant that's coming back, it's the fact that like we missed some cucamelons when we were harvesting and they fell to the ground and they just reseeded themselves. So once again this year we've got a ton of cucamelon plants coming back. Check this out. So here's 2 there. This is 1. There's 2 here, another one there. They're all over the place. More all through here. There's a little one right here. Check out this side. Look at this. They're everywhere. So needless to say, we won't be short on cucamelons this year. That's not a problem, and we probably will be selling some of our plants. So if you're in the area and you're interested in getting a cucamelon plant, reach out to me. I'll let you know once I've got them up and available for sale. Alright, so I wanted to take a minute today to talk to you guys a little bit about some new stuff that we've got going on. Number 1, we do have a live website, so be sure that you guys go and check us out on our website. That's www.GrantedGardens.com. From that hub, you can basically get to everything that we do. So it'll take you to our YouTube page, let you see our videos. It'll show you some of the stuff that we have for sale recently. Right now, we've got salves available on there for sale. We also have our t-shirts. We've got quite a few different designs that are up and available. Again, if you go to GrantedGardens.com, www.GrantedGardens.com, you can kind of reach all of those different avenues from that one website, so make sure that you guys go check it out. The really cool thing about the salves that we do have available on our website is that the materials are all grown right here. So right now the current salves we have up are comfrey salves, and they have all come right from our homestead, right from the plants that we have here in our gardens. Seems like we were just out here picking blueberries. We've got more, lots more. And this is really just coming off of our 1 blueberry bush. We still have 3 more blueberry bushes to produce. Now this one here just might not get very many this year. We've got 1. This one should be producing right now. So this is an early producer. The one that we've been picking from over here is an early producer. And then this one and this one are to be late producers. There's your pretty puppy. This is forever my favorite part of the day in the garden. The sun is just gorgeous. So one thing that I absolutely look forward to every single year is my lettuce bowl. So this year we finally got one up and running. My first round didn't do too well. I think it got maybe a little too hot in the greenhouse. But we recently put together this lettuce bowl. So these are just some mixed lettuce seeds that I had. You can see we've got some purple in here, a lot of green. So this is one of my most favorite things to have because you can easily just come out, pick your lettuce for dinner right here on the back porch. So this is just a shallow bowl, as you can see, shallow pot, filled it with some soil and put in some of my lettuce starts that I had started in the basement from seed. They're still fairly small right now, so we won't quite pick from them yet, but they will grow really quickly and feed us multiple meals. Okay, so we're gonna go head out into the front yard and see what is ready to be picked. I moved these green beans out here last week, I believe. They weren't doing too hot out on the back porch, so we figured we'd give them a shot. This one's definitely a vining bean, so I tried to get it on this little trellis here. I'm not sure it's gonna have enough space to really do its thing. I don't see any beans on it quite yet. This one, these are our bush beans. And they're the yellow variety. They have not really gotten too big. I've been picking a lot like this. Usually when the bottom starts to plump is when the whole thing starts to plump a lot, and you kind of lose them after that. So I've been picking these. Let's see, we don't really have any. So another thing I'm really curious about is like when beans start to curl instead of just growing straight. Does anybody know why that is? Like what makes them curl instead of just grow straight? Here we've got our lavender. I'm gonna take some here. Looks like it's starting to dry out a bit. Not a bad little harvest. So I'll just tie these up, hang them upside down, let them dry. And very pretty. Look at this Echinacea. Isn't that beautiful? This plant is massive. We planted this, I think, 2 years ago, and it has come back every single year. Beautiful. I'm gonna have to come through and do some pruning on these roses, but they're still gorgeous. Alright, I have to head over and pick some blueberries, but as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Have a very happy 4th.